We're moving down Baghdad's Haifa Street with marksmen of the 82nd Airborne Division. Before they assumed control of this quarter, it was a hotbed of the insurgency. Mortar attacks and killings were a daily occurrence here. Our camera team was the only one to get permission to accompany the unit. The marksmen pick a private apartment in a high-rise as their observation point. No one was home to open the door, so they break in. Damages inflicted on the civilian population are generally compensated with $20. The soldiers tell us if the family had been at home, they would have been restricted to one of the other rooms. The marksmen settle in for the day. Their assignment is to observe the streets below, report any unusual activity, and shoot persons carrying arms. Once targeted, such persons have little chance of escaping. It isn't long before the marksmen have spotted and fired on a suspicious person, an Iraqi, and he's been hit. Now the quick reaction force moves in and checks out the situation. The marksmen keep firing. The soldiers thread their way through the labyrinth of narrow alleys. Insurgents could be lurking around any corner, behind any window, or on any rooftop. Shots are fired, grenades go off somewhere behind the troopers. The suspect Iraqi hit by the marksman lies in a car, severely wounded. That afternoon, the patrol again moves through the area, carefully checking any cars they run across. Any one could be booby-trapped. There's room for an entire arsenal in a car trunk. The owner is lucky if he's around to open it up. If not, the paratroopers have no problem with getting it open. Nobody pays for the damage.
Roger. I'm on River Road right now. I was found in the trunk of a red car.
In a taxi, the patrol turns up a cache of hand grenades and missiles. They take the vehicle apart and set it ablaze. The company is billeted in the Haifa quarter in one of Saddam Hussein's former palaces, named, ironically enough, Camp Prosperity. The troopers relax by hitting golf balls into the nearby Tigris River. The battalion prepares for a major nighttime raid. All 130 paratroopers will be taking part. The target is one entire street and everyone living on it. All the men will be arrested. They're to be universally accused of having attacked Americans. The presence of women and children is not a factor, nor is there desperation as they yell, "Why? Why? Who will provide for us? Who will take care of us?"
Take them outside. Not in here.
An old woman tries to kiss the hand of one of the Americans. 18 men were arrested and interrogated in the raid. Every 6 hours, fresh troops relieve the observers on the roof. They work in teams of 5. They use the short breaks to check their guns and ammunition. Off duty, the men can rest up in an apartment on the floor below. 2 soldiers make sure no one else comes up the stairs. They sleep right on the floor and never take their uniforms off. There's no running water, and the rations get whatever taste they do have from flavor enhancers. Why did Sergeant Vignart join the Army?
Why did I join the current? I joined the Army young, right out of high school. I just had one of those deep down desires to, be the hero, shoot somebody, kill some enemy. Be a rebel. You know, be a rebel, you know. And one thing I was lacking, other than manners, was discipline. You know, I hope I wasn't a problem child, but I'm pretty sure I was a problem child. You know, I'm pretty sure I drove my parents pretty crazy. But I figured it was the shock therapy I needed.
The moments of private life are few and far between, but the men are willing to put up with it for the privilege of being where the action is. 15,000 of their fellow soldiers live under very different conditions in what's known as the Green Zone, a 20-square-kilometer high-security compound in the middle of Baghdad. It was once the area where Saddam Hussein, his family, and high-ranking officials lived. Now, aside from the troops, a few Western embassies, the United Nations representatives, and Iraq's interim government are located here in the relative safety of its perimeters. Our camera team was the first to get permission to tape here. In the Green Zone, there is very little the troops can do with their time off. They take souvenir snapshots of one another in front of 3 colossal heads of Saddam Hussein that used to crown the palace. The foyers are so heavily damaged, they can only be used as parking garages.
And so the Patriots are never going to win another Super Bowl, is that right?
Plywood sheets divide up the marble halls into sleeping quarters. Even so, the GIs are living in royal luxury relative to the conditions their comrades on patrol have to endure. What was once Saddam's main palace is now the American embassy. The troops like to come here just to have a look around. Often they meet up with friends from other units. They can view Saddam's throne room when it's open, and the palace restaurant offers a welcome change from the military fare. Wherever American troops are deployed in the world, there is no shortage of workout rooms. The priority given to bodybuilding is second only to its popularity. Mohammed's gift shop tries to keep up with the American forces' almost insatiable demand for DVDs and computer games. Every barracks in the Green Zone has a shop like this, each run by a carefully screened and selected Iraqi merchant.
Make the palm of his hand touch his forearm. Why?
Hand-to-hand combat training serves the young soldiers mainly as an outlet for their stress and aggression. TV audiences in the West imagine them in action on the battlefield, but daily reality in the Green Zone consists mostly of killing time, not terrorists. The primary objective of the routine patrols outside the Green Zone is to show a military presence. Fraternization with the Iraqi population is frowned upon, and even if it weren't, the mutual distrust effectively prevents it. The streets are deserted. Even the otherwise crowded bazaar seems desolate. The area beyond the Green Zone, as far as the coalition forces are concerned, is insurgent territory. Anyone on the street, day or night, any hidden face, can be one of them. For 2 years, they've kept the world's most powerful military machine on the defensive, harassing it with mines, bombs, missiles, and suicide attacks. The insurgents' targets are not so much the coalition troops who can defend themselves and strike back effectively, but Iraqis and foreigners who cooperate with the Americans. Journalists are at especially high risk. Some have been taken hostage and even executed. An interview can easily turn into an abduction. We play it safe, turn down all such offers, and keep the camera inside the car. And we only go out during the day. There's always a degree of risk, if not of a terrorist attack, then of arrest by American troops if they happen to observe suspicious journalistic activity. And there's no way of knowing which insurgent groups you're dealing with: the pro-Saddam paramilitaries, radical Sunnis, radical Shiites, foreign mercenaries, or gangs of ordinary criminals. The Iraqi Secret Service estimates the number of active fighters at very roughly 40,000, with another 200,000 to support the insurgency. The U.S. military says there's an average of 60 attacks per day in Iraq. The insurgents do not necessarily enjoy universal support among the Iraqi people, even if they seem able to move with relative freedom. But a majority of Iraqis would like to see the Americans leave their country. The growing dissatisfaction is especially apparent in Baghdad's largest and poorest area, Sadr City. Before the war, fuel was cheaper than water in Iraq. Now, a country with some of the world's biggest oil reserves is plagued by fuel shortages. All the more troublesome because the Iraqis depend on their cars to get around. To make matters worse, diesel fuel is needed to drive the generators people use to get through the constant power outages.
It's too mess. We have no safe here in this area. We need security. The American soldiers, he said this is no, there's no democracy. When the American soldiers get in this area, it's make messy and no safe and get out from this area. So this is democracy with what Mr. Bush is talking about.
We drive around Baghdad in search of a second opinion and eventually come to Saddamiyya, an area of high-rise tenement blocks that once housed Saddam Hussein's secret police. Nowadays, they house Iraqis who work for the Americans. We call on the Awad family: Shoaib, his wife Khadija, and his daughter Samar. Shoaib works as an interpreter.
I'm working with the American, and I'm proud of that, because I am working with them to help Iraqi people. All the people, Iraqi people coming to us, we helping them. Not only me, please, you have to remember that. Not only me, I help the Iraqi. All the captains, all the sergeants, all the commanders which I work with them, we help Iraqi people.
Shoaib's son, Luai, also worked for the Americans, but he received death threats and had to leave the country. His parents miss him terribly. Christmas is long past, but every evening the family gathers round the Christmas tree Luai's American co-workers gave to him. But Shoaib's unflagging optimism over the future of his country is what keeps him going. That future will be decided primarily by the Shiite majority in the south of Iraq. At demonstrations in their holy city of Karbala, they demanded the withdrawal of all foreign troops in Iraq. But so far, they have not resorted to violent insurgence as the Sunnis have. They have no need to. They're well aware that a truly democratic Iraq will tip the scales of power in their favor, after decades of repression under Saddam and the Sunni minority. The Shiites won the election in January, as anticipated. The Al-Hussein Mosque in Karbala is the most important place of Shiite pilgrimage. The Imam who preaches here wields enormous influence. He says, "We say no to Saddam, no to America, but yes to Islam." The faithful come from all over Iraq to attend the Friday prayers here, some even from Iran. There's not enough room in the mosques to accommodate them all at once. They pray in several shifts. The Shiites are tending more and more to the hard line preached by the religious leaders. They're demanding that Iraq be made an Islamic republic under the rule of Sharia, the traditional Islamic law. If the Shiites' demands are not eventually met, the already volatile situation could easily erupt into violent unrest. Even now, many Iraqi politicians are warning of a civil war. About 300 kilometers south of Karbala is Iraq's second largest city, Basra. The British forces have set up their headquarters along the banks of the Shatt al-Arab waterway.